They do by the end of the week on Sunday. So I'm gonna review them on Monday, every Monday.
Okay. Okay, good to know. Thank you. And then you just like, since we sent you the blog link, that's just like,
No, so each time you post your social media content, make a new post
right.
that says the week.
Yeah. My tweets like,
and then send me that link for that post to my email directly.
Okay, thank you.
Were yours private or?
No, it's not private.
Okay.
The first time when I posted on my WordPress, I just took it straight from the source. Am I supposed to take it from my Twitter account or the
Yeah.
source?
You're supposed to take it from whichever includes the hashtag. So if you include the source and then add the AC.
So like I retweet it with the hashtag and then I take it from
Yeah. So it has to be your retweet with the hashtag.
Okay. I did the actual little picture on the tweet.
Okay.
I don't know why they did it, because I did. Is it just showing the link? Yeah. Because it was doing that to me too.
Is this about WordPress?
Yeah. Yeah. We were like,
Sorry though.
I was on Safari too.
Try a different browser, you guys.
Okay.
Because there's some extensions that are blocking the embeds from you seeing them, but they're there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys want me to walk you through that process again? Does everyone know how to do it?
When I do it as a draft, it looks right, but then, like, when I actually submit it, it doesn't.
Pull up your blog in a different browser and see if it's there. So guys, make sure you pick up a packet. I printed out the tutorial for you. Follow along. And then if you didn't bring a mouse, you want to borrow one, we have a few. So go ahead and grab one. Just don't steal this precious cargo.
This doesn't work.
The what?
I have one, but I brought to school and
Oh.
I haven't used since.
I know it sounds
Thank you.
silly, but trust me, it's
Then
gonna
I
be
got
easier
a
on
new
your
one
hands.
because I need one anyway. I really like it. $11. Yeah, it was on basic.
Ooh, nice.
Like the back thing has the thing for this thing in it.
Oh wow, it's fancy.
Just a ninja.
So guys, if you didn't bring a mouse and you need to borrow one for today, raise your hand if there isn't one. So one.
So player.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Who needs a mouse?
I got one.
Oh.
Yeah, I know it seems funny to go back to mouse when we have like trackpads and all these things, but it's not good for the Adobe stuff. Yeah. Yes. Maybe it's gonna cost you some more mice, so raise your hand if you need to borrow one. Yeah. Yeah, sure. As long as I don't bore her to death.
No, not this class. I don't want to bring in my writing class, but I'm still trying to figure this out.
Yeah, anyone's welcome. Alright, so guys, does anybody not have Photoshop on their machine today?
I'm still down.
Still downloading? Okay.
I never got the invitation. He said he sent it, but I never received
Okay. Send me an email because we need to make sure you get one. And then in the meantime,
I sent you an email.
okay. Go to adobe.com and download a trial. But just make sure that you use a personal email account. Don't use your USC address. So use like a Gmail or something. Anyone else? Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, once you download Photoshop, it's just software on your machine.
Okay, because I downloaded it
And
and then it went away.
then it what?
It went away.
It went away? Yeah, if you just downloaded it, it might have been open here, but you have to actually add it into your toolbar. So if you go into your Finder, are you on a Mac?
No.
Not that great with PCs, but whatever the equivalent is, if you go into where your applications are on your computer, it's probably still in there. Or you deleted it. Ooh. Cool. Well, now you got Creative Cloud. All right, guys, does anyone else not have Photoshop? Because we're digging straight in today. So, again, I'm going to take you to the Annenberg DL site. Like I said, everything that we put together, we're posting up here for you guys. And then in time, I'll also post the videos because I'm always recording myself in class for you. But this is the one we're doing today, so you can kind of revisit this at your leisure. Again, it's under the ASCJ 200 collection. And I printed out copies today for you guys just to make it easy. So if you didn't grab one when you walked in, they're up there by the sign-in sheet. And I'm going to do my best today. I know I went a little off script with WordPress, but I'm going to do my best to follow along. That way you guys can follow along too, and we can all stay together. All right, so let's open up Photoshop. Woo, it's exciting. Sorry, I get excited about this stuff. I know you guys think I'm a big dork. I am. So, for those of you that are new to this version of Adobe, they actually, once you guys are in the Creative Cloud, you'll see they do updates constantly. So they just did this update. You might not notice this interface. This is a new landing page. So what I'm going to do is just have you guys go ahead and open a file. And so before we do that, did all of you see the link that I sent out on Blackboard a few weeks ago? There was an announcement. If you didn't, yeah, I made a quick bit.ly for you guys today. So you're going to need to go to this link and download the files for today so we can all follow along. So there's a bit.ly link you can type in. You can also log into Blackboard and grab it there. The folder we're going to be using. So this is the folder I made for you guys, and I have it broken down by the assignment that you have. So every week we'll be adding materials in here for you that you'll follow along with in class. So today we're doing image manipulation, and this bit.ly link is for that folder. So whether you've added it to your Finder or if you're in Google Drive, you're going to want to click on the little drop-down menu and download that folder because we're going to need these images today. So I'm going to go ahead and kick us off, and I'll wait until I know that all of you are ready. But I'm going to go ahead and open our first image. So I'm going to go up to File, Open. And again, it's taking me to this folder.
Wait, so do we have to save all those images?
Yeah, so download all those images. Just keep them on your desktop or wherever you want to add them. Yes, just those for today. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and open this document so I have something open. And you guys can also, for those of you that are on Macs, depending on how you use your Google Drive, I just have it over here as a shortcut in my Finder, which just makes it easy for me. But whatever you guys want to do. You're just every week, essentially, when you come into this lab, you're going to need access to that folder. This is just a bit.ly for today. This is just Photoshop. But if you guys go back into Blackboard and grab the link, there's all these different folders in there for you.
Which folder?
So this folder right here, ASCJ 200 lab
Yeah.
materials, that's what I sent the link to in
But-
Blackboard. So you're gonna need those eventually. But for today, if you don't have that, you can just grab this link. Because all we're doing today is image manipulation. We're just doing Photoshop. And so again, once you open up Photoshop, go ahead and go to File, Open. And this first image we're gonna play with is called Square Selection, and it's a JPEG. So if you wouldn't mind doing a favor, when you guys kind of have this image loaded and ready to go, if you wouldn't mind looking up so I kind of know when we're ready to move on.
How'd you do square selection? Yeah, I don't have any files. I don't know.
So download your files. So you're going to have a folder. And then I go File, Open. Whoops. let me do that in Photoshop. File, Open, and then again I want to go to this image manipulation folder. So wherever you downloaded that, it might just be in your downloads or your desktop, wherever you put it. And these are the files we're going to be working with today. And so this first one here, Square Selection, this is the first one that I opened. And if you guys are behind, go ahead and raise your hand so we can come around and help you. We got a lot to get through today. Yeah.
So I downloaded all of them.
Okay. So they should be in your downloads.
I just want to know.
Go to your downloads and you can share it. Go back to the website. Go back to that folder. Feel free. You're not gonna, you can drag, but you just need to open it. So now that zip file is in your downloads folder. So go ahead and open that zip file. And then you should have a folder with all the images in there.
For some reason, when I tried to open it on Drive, it was empty. I found it now.
Alright. Raise your hand if you don't have the images downloaded. Okay.
Can I just download them separately?
You can, but if you open it in Google Drive, just download all of them. Go ahead and download.
Which one?
And open it in your downloads. I'll show you guys how to. Don't worry if it's small or if it's big. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. All right, so guys, I'm going to move forward because we have a lot to get through today. So again, if you're still needing help, raise your hand because Erica can come around and help. All right, so before we start digging into this file, let me just give you kind of a quick lay of the land of Photoshop. Down here on the left are all your tools on the left-hand column. And you'll notice all of them have this kind of fly-out menu. So if you kind of, first if you hover over them, anything in these programs for that matter, it will always kind of tell you what it is. So if you're not sure what something is, hover over it. And then if you click in this right-hand corner, there's a whole menu beneath all of these tools. So there's a drop-down menu. So again, it's not just the eyedropper, there's all these other tools beneath it. So just know that all of those are there. We're going to be playing with some of them today. Over here on your right, you have all your panels. So you have adjustments, libraries. That's something that you have with this version of the Creative Cloud. Then over here, you have your layers. So see how when I opened up this image, there's one layer here. Whenever there's an eyeball next to it and on, that's telling me that that layer is visible. And when you're working in Photoshop, everything you're going to do is working with a layer. So you can think of it as like you're building a sandwich as you go along. And we do that because it's what we like to call non-destructive editing. That means like we can keep going in and adding an effect on top of an effect, adding in another layer. But if there's one that we don't like, you can just delete it, and that way it doesn't screw up your whole original image. And you can do a bunch of edits and then just go back to the original and it's still there. You can also turn layers on and off with what you can see by turning off the visibility. So you can click on these eyeballs and kind of turn things on and off. Okay, so some of you were seeing this image is very small, just a few quick commands. If I hit Command plus, that zooms me in, and then Command minus pulls me out. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in a little bit. All right, so what I want to do is I want to make a selection. So I'm going to go over here again, this second tool. And on this drop down menu, I'm going to pick up the first tool, which is the rectangular marquee tool. So now you can see it kind of turns to a square over here. And what I want to do is I want to select one of these windows and I want to change the color of it. So again, we have this office building, some of the lights are on, some of them are off. So I'm going to pick one of these windows where the lights are on and I'm going to try to make it look like the lights are off. And this is important because when you guys are going in and remixing images for this next assignment, there's a good chance you're just going to want to manipulate a part of a photo. Again, you can go in and you can add a filter, you can manipulate an entire photo, but you guys are probably going to want to go in and start kind of changing things to change the meaning. So we're just going to grab this one window. And see these little dots that are around my selection? Those are what we call marching ants. So whenever you see marching ants, that's kind of actively showing you like what you've selected. So we're going to add our first adjustment layer. So on the right hand side, so make sure again on this panel that you're on your adjustments panel. I'm going to go ahead and click brightness and contrast, which is this first one here that looks like a sun. And again, if I'm not sure which one, if I just kind of hover all these, it gives me the title of them. So I'm going to go ahead and select this one. And then with that selection, I can go in and I can change the brightness and contrast. So again, if you look at the square I have selected, which is on the left hand side, I can kind of bring the brightness down and I can play with the contrast a little bit. Alright, so just kind of play around, just get a feel for it. So you can see over here I kind of pulled it down, but it still doesn't look like one of those dark windows to me. So I'm going to add another layer on top of that. So if I hold down Command and it's Control on a PC, and I click over here in this box, see how I created another layer over here? So when I click again in this box, see how my marching ants are selected again? So now I can add another layer onto my selection. So now I'm going to go over here this time and I'm just going to play with the exposure a little bit. So exposure is the fourth one over. It has a plus and minus sign. So now when I click on that, I can kind of drop down the exposure on that window, which gives it a little bit of a better look for me. And again, just play around with these sliders.
Do you have to reselect it each time you want to do it?
Yeah, each time you want to add a layer onto your selection, you have to make sure that selection is active. And you'll know it's active because what will you see around it? The marching ants, right? So that always kind of shows you what you're manipulating.
But just by clicking on it, it should be active because I clicked on it.
Yeah, so let me go back. So in Photoshop, two important things for you guys to learn. Does anyone know what Command Z does? Yep, so that takes you back a step. So I can Command Z and go back a step. Another thing you can do is if I go up to Window if I open my history panel, this literally records every little step that I take. So if I just want to go back a few selections, I can just go back. So I'm going to go back a few steps. So this is before I added that last layer with exposure. So it took me back to that step. And so see over here, and again, remember how I can turn these layers on and off? So with this layer on, with the big eyeball there, I'm going to go ahead and hit Command, and then click in this little box. And see how that reactivates my marching ants?
What on PC?
PC, it's Control. So with these marching ants active, now I can add another adjustment layer just onto that selection. So I'm going to grab exposure, and then now I'm just going to kind of play with that exposure and drop it down a little. And just play around. And this is just... Alright, so any questions about this one? And again, you guys can play around on your own time. You can always pick some other windows. I'm going to move on just to make sure we can get through a fair amount of these tools today. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and close that one out. I'm not going to save my changes because I don't need it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up my next file, which is this first one, circle and invert selection. I'm going to go ahead and open that up.
Wait, so are we done with this other one?
Yeah, we're done with it. If you want to keep it open and then play with it later, feel free. I'm going to move a little bit quickly today just because we have a lot to get through. And again, if you guys get stuck, raise your hand so we can make sure we kind of keep everyone going along. Okay, so does everyone have this image open? It's a hand with a clock. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start playing around with the elliptical marquee tool. So if I go back up to that toolbox I was just in, but this time I drop down to the elliptical tool. It's right beneath the rectangular one we just used. And so with that active, now I see a little circle over here in this toolbox. And this is one where you're going to be really glad that you have your mouse today, because you're going to do a lot of clicking and holding down. So what we essentially want to do is just like how we isolated that square window, we want to do the same thing with this clock face, but because this is a circle, we're going to use this elliptical tool to try to isolate that. So what you want to do is you click and hold down and kind of drag. But as you draw, if you hold down the space bar, you can kind of reposition where your ants are. And then you can kind of move things around. So I'm going to do that again. But remember, click and drag, and then when you kind of move things around, you can hold down your space bar.
What does holding down the space bar do?
It just, see how when I hold down the space bar, I can move my selection?
Oh, like the entire.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna...
Suggest our starting point be.
You know what, I started in the left-hand corner, but I'm not gonna lie, these get a little tricky. So it's hard, and don't feel bad if it takes you a few times, as it takes me a few times too. So it's kind of this just delicate dance of clicking and dragging and holding down the space bar until you kind of get it selected. Right.
It's like red or something like that, so you could see it. Was it kind of like
Well, not here, you're just going to see your ants, but in a second I'm going to show you, we're going to play around with the color of that.
Is there any way of changing it once you like stop clicking? Like to change the size?
Yeah, that's, well, you want to use the space bar. So as you hold down the space bar, you can kind of move it around. It's a tricky one, I know, but
The spacebar won't let me adjust the size of it.
it will. You just have to, keep holding, you have to keep clicking and dragging. Here guys, I'll do it again just so we can. So I'm just gonna click and drag and just start kind of moving around and making a circle. But as I get here, see how it's kind of getting to the edge? So if I hold down the space bar but I'm still clicking, I can just kind of move over what I just did and then keep expanding. So see how I keep kind of moving and filling in this area. See how it's like the space bar and then clicking and dragging. I'm going to kind of move this down and start dragging up. And just keep doing it till you have that clock face in there. And it doesn't have to be perfect for today. Again, I just want you guys kind of starting to play with these tools and learning them. So do your best to just kind of isolate the clock face as best you can. You can also, as you're using the elliptical tool, if you hold down the shift key, it will make more of a circle than an ellipses. But I'm kind of doing it freeform because it makes it really hard if you're holding down shift and the space bar. But you guys can play with that too. I'm not quite as nimble to be able to do it. My fingers get a little confused. So, okay. So up here with this tool, I want to go in and kind of set the properties for it. So feathering, this is just it's gonna tell me how the amount of velocity that this tool uses as an effect. So again, you can, depending on how hard you want to make this, you can make it hard or soft, and we're just going to kind of go in and feather. So I'm going to go ahead and set this feather to 10. Mine's already here, but up here, just go ahead and set it to 10. Okay, and now over here in the adjustments panel, we're going to play with the hue and saturation. So that's this first one here on the second line. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and make an adjustment layer. And then again, because we had our marching ants around the clock face, now we're just going to kind of play with the color of just that selection. So you can kind of add some saturation. You can play with the light. Again, I'm only playing with the clock face because that's all that's selected. And you know, just play around. You guys can have fun with it. I'm going to make mine look a little neon. You can make it really saturated if you want. Okay, so go ahead and give it some sort of color. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to add, I like to call a little bit of a Schindler's List effect. So we're going to make the background black and white. That way this color kind of pops. Okay, so I'm going to hold down Command, which is Control on a PC, and I'm going to click on this box. Just like we did before with the windows, and see how it gives me my marching ants again. So make sure you have the marching ants. And so what I want to do is, again, I have the clock face selected, but I want to go in and change the color behind it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to where it says select, and then go down to where it says inverse. And so see, now I have marching ants all around it. So again, remember your marching ants, everything inside of your marching ants is what's selected. So because I have a box around it and then a box around the clock, it's essentially selecting everything around the clock face. So now we have the inverse. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and add another adjustment layer on top of that. And this time I'm going to choose black and white, which is here on the second row, and go ahead and select that. Did anyone lose it? I can do it again. So when you click on one of these adjustment panels, it automatically creates a layer for you. How many of you guys want me to go back and do that again? A few of you, okay. So I'm gonna pull up my history window. We'll go back to, so I'm gonna go back to here. Oh, actually, we'll keep this. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the where I had this colored. So what I wanna do, I'm gonna hold down Command, and I'm gonna click over here so I have my marching ants again around the clock face. So the clock face is isolated. And then next I'm going to go up to where it says select. And I'm going to choose inverse. And so now when I do that, I have marching ants all around my photo, plus the marching ants around the clock face. So what it's essentially doing is it's taking all of this area here in between the ants and selecting it. And this right here in the middle is not going to be affected. And so now with all these marching ants active, when I go over here to my adjustments panel and I click on black and white, see how it added a layer for me? And again, remember, like I said, these layers are there, but they're non-destructive. So look what happens when I hit this eyeball. It just removes that layer. So remember, every effect, everything you add on can always be deleted or changed. And this is how you guys are going to want to edit. I'm dramatic. Oh, I know, right? Like, again. Yeah. So again, we really changed the context of this photo, right? This photo, I think, has very different meaning now than it did when we first opened it. Alright, is everyone good with this one? Raise your hand if you're not so we can come around and help you. Otherwise, we're going to move on. So hold down Control. Click right here. Okay, now you're your hands. Do select inverse. Okay. Yep. All right, anyone else? Okay, let's move on. So I'm going to close this one. Okay, for this next one, we're going to open up two different images. So the first one. Yep, this and Star Wars. So I'm going to open both of these up. See how I have two images open, but they're just separate panels up here. So go ahead and make sure both of those are there. Okay.
What's the other one?
So this and Star Wars. So we'll start with Kim. I can't look at him without laughing, I'm sorry. Does anyone read The New Yorker? There was a really funny cover of him a couple weeks ago. The illustrator, it's him as a baby and he's playing with tools and it's like missiles with the US on it. I'm sure he's not happy about it if he saw it. It was really funny. Okay. So this photo's a little small. How do I blow it up? Does anyone remember? Yep. So let's blow it up a little, just so it's a little easier to work with. And now we are going to grab the lasso tool. So there's a lot of different tools in this bucket. These are really fun ones, especially for cutting things out, which you guys are probably going to be doing for your assignment. So I encourage you on your own time to just kind of play with these different ones. Depending on what you're cutting out, you might want to grab a different lasso tool. For today, I'm just going to show you the good old original lasso tool. And essentially what that lets you do is just, you're going to kind of freeform draw around something so you can cut it out. So go ahead and draw around his face. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're going to clean it up. But make sure you grab his hair and his ears.
And his chin.
You what? Oh, that's right. You don't want his hair.
You want his ears and
But you want his ears and his chin.
both.
No hair?
Yeah, for... You could,
I heard that.
that is hilarious.
Wait, so from his forehead down?
Yeah, sorry. Wasn't looking at this yet. Yeah, just grab his face.
Including his ears?
Including his ears and both chins. And take your time.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's fine if you get a little bit of the background because I'm going to show you how to clean it up.
Now I know why we need a mouse.
Right? Just do your best, guys, to cut it out. It doesn't need to be perfect. So once you guys have your marching ants, do me a favor and look up so I know when we can move on. And again, if you need help, raise your hand so we can get you up to speed. All right, we're good? All right, let's cut out a face. So I'm going to click up here where it says Refine Edge. And now, so up it says Refine Edge up on the top. So click on that. It'll bring you into this interface. I know, just hang on. So if you go up here to this drop-down menu where it says View, you guys can kind of change whatever background you want to work with, what you're comfortable with. Again, you can have a transparent background. You can use this red. It's kind of whatever you're comfortable with. So go ahead and select one. And then up here, you want to make sure you click Smart Radius under Edge Detection.
What do you recommend for radius?
I recommend kind of dropping it down because again, we're just trying to kind of play with these edges. And if you, so drop this down and then you can kind of play with this radius. So you just want to kind of play with these edges. So see right here where it says Smart Radius? This just kind of adjusts the edge. So you're going to want to kind of play around with these different filters. So just kind of play around with your feathering. That's wow. He looks like a greeting card. So just kind of play around with the edges because it just kind of smooths it out for you. Just you guys just have fun. It's just to kind of play around. Again, you can whatever background you want it on. It's fine. Yeah, Grace.
Oh, sorry. How do you get back into Refine Edge? I pressed enter on something and then I can't click onto it again.
Make sure you have that layer selected. Like his face. So go back into your selection. So yeah, when you guys are done, just click OK. And so with my marching ants selected, I'm going to go ahead and edit and copy just so I'm selecting that selection. And then I'm going to go over here to Star Wars and I'm literally just going to paste that selection. Bless you. Yeah, so you just copy and paste that selection. Again, you need to make sure you have your marching ants active.
How did you paste those?
Just literally edit, copy, Command C, and then Command V. So raise your hand if you need help doing that so we can come around and help you. Guys, if it gives you like a color mismatch warning, just click don't show again and OK. We're going to fix the color. Alright, so we're going to move him onto Kylo Ren's. Yeah, so just when you're over here, you want to make sure that you have your marching ants selected. And you're literally just going to edit, copy, and then paste onto here. So, and again, because I pasted this and I want to have my selection active again, I'm just going to hold Command and click on this layer. See how my marching ants are there again?
Oh, yeah.
And then I want to go up to the Move tool because I'm going to move them around. And you want to make sure that Show Transform controls are active. That way you get this box around it. So the Move tool is up here, the very first one. And then see how when I turn Transform controls on, it gives me that option. They're active over here. If you hit Command and then you click on the layer, they'll be active. You don't need them active right now for moving it. I was just trying to show you guys how to get a selection again. But what you want to do is you want to move his face over here. And then this is really important. Hold down the Shift key as you grab one of these corners, and that will scale his face proportionately. Because if you don't hold down Shift, he's going to get all morphed. Which, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of fun, right? Because it's him. But hold down the Shift key as you grab one of these corners. And then, so over here, with the move tool, hang on, let me go back.
You just have to click the little box that says
You have to
show
click
transform.
show transform tools. So I'm going to go back here to the beginning where I first pasted it. So this is probably what it looks like when you guys first put your face in here. So just to go back a few steps. So go ahead and click on this first tool, it's the move tool. And then you want to click up here where it says show transform controls. And so now with the move tool, I can kind of move his face around this photo. But what I want to do is I want to have these controls on because I need to scale his face. If I just put it over here, it doesn't quite fit. So I need to go in and do a little bit of work. So if I hold down the shift key and I grab one of these top corners, now I can scale his face proportionately. So I'm just going to kind of move it over here. So I kind of have it about the right scale and in place, but if you'll notice, his face is kind of at a different angle than Kylo Ren is standing. So if I hover over here in this top right hand corner, see how my cursor turned into 2 arrows? I'm just going to click and then rotate him a little bit to the right, just so it looks a little bit more natural. Alright, so does everyone have that so far? How do I move it? So see when I click over here above the right hand corner, so it's this little arrow tool, so I just want to kind of move it. So kind of get his face into place. That's a fun sentence. So we've been talking a lot about color. What do you guys notice about his face? Other than it's funny. And he has 2 chins. Right? The lighting's pretty obvious that we just cut it out. So what we want to do is we want to go in and change the color, but only of his face. So how are we going to do that? Right. So we're going to add an adjustment layer. What else are we going to do? We need to just select his face, right? Otherwise, it's going to add a color to the whole image. So again, I'm going to hold down Command. Oh, wait a minute. Why are you not letting me select this?
Press enter.
Yeah, there we go. You have to click enter to commit your move. I forgot I moved it again. So if I, again, hit Command and then I click in this little box, it gives me my marching ants. And so now I can go and add some color. So I'm going to grab the photo filter. And so up here in this filter drop down menu, instead of a warming filter, I'm going to drop down and pick up one of the cooling filters. All right, let me go back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
My marching ants never went away, so it won't let me click on photo filter.
You need to, guys, before when I was moving stuff, I forgot I moved it again. After you move something, you're going to have to hit return to commit your change. And so let's take it back here. So I'm going to go over to my layer and hit Command and then click in this box so it gives me my marching ants again. And then I'm going to go up here to where it says photo filter. So marching ants, I'm going to hold down Command or Control on a PC and click on this layer where I had added his face. It should be the layer right above the background. And with the marching ants, I'm going to click this photo filter adjustment and make a layer. See how every time I do that, it's adding a new layer over here? So I've done this 3 times, so it makes a layer each time. And then with the filter, I'm going to drop down to one of the cooling filters. And then I can kind of change the density of that here. So I don't necessarily want to make him look like a Smurf, but maybe if we drop down kind of somewhere in here, just looks a little bit more natural, like he could actually be there. And see, again, with the layers, I can go in and turn these off. All right, anyone need help with that? Because we can come around and help. We only have a few minutes left, so we're not going to get into... We'll pick back up next Friday with the rest of this, where I left off. But we have a couple minutes left, so if you guys have any more questions about...
Should we save any of these? Or?
You don't need to save them unless you want to. Any questions you guys have about anything we've covered today with Photoshop? If you still have any WordPress questions, we can revisit that.
How did you tilt his heading up?
So tilting his head, see with these transform controls on?
Yeah.
If I hover in this corner, it gives me a little arrow.
Oh.
And then I can kind of rotate
Okay.
his face. Although I don't have this selected, but... So you need to make sure you're on that layer.
Everybody, your social media posts are due to me by the end of anytime by Sunday, I guess. I'm going to be checking them out on Monday, so be sure to get them to me before then. Send me an email of the blog post that contains the 3 weekly social media posts to my email. So just send that to me anytime before Monday morning when I'm going to check them.
So you won't see that if you just post it come in.
No. Well, rather than having to look through all your content, it'll just make
Right.
it easier for me to check them all.
What if we have a Twitter?
Send it to me anyway.
Okay.
Just the individual post for that week.
They're due by Sunday night, you said? Sunday night.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, if there aren't any more questions, have a fantastic weekend.
How do we get rid of the square?
Get rid of the square. So if I go up to the move tool, show transform, it's just giving you a box so that you can manipulate it easily.